it's a continuing thing. I blame the deep state, and I think the Russians might be involved at this point. It feels like a coordinated
Do
effort.
you have gremlins on your previous streams? The chat
Not
seems to imply that.
Yes, I have. I've had this happen once before. That doesn't mean I'm not being attacked by, of course, the derp state. But that
Yeah, just
said,
just because you think everybody's out to get you doesn't mean that you're wrong.
yeah, right. Yeah, paranoia actually has a point now and again. Let's see, and since we kind of accidentally had a couple of breaks, we'll go straight to the half hour on this particular instance, and we'll see if
Yeah,
we can
let's do
keep
it.
the conversation in some general sense on track. I think, I hope, right? We'll see. And the the where were we? The essence is that they're trying to hide the story. Maybe that's exactly what's happening. Maybe there's an
Oh my
automatic,
God, we're being attacked.
right? Maybe there's an AI that's set up, by Elon Musk, as a favor to Trump. That anytime somebody, mentions Epstein like Beetlejuice, it shuts down their entire stream, just so they can keep at this. I wouldn't rule it out at this point. I don't think we can. That said, the there are what I would call like peripheral issues to the Epstein criticism coming from the right. And that is what I would call the ghost of Epstein that haunts the back right quarter of the skull of every maggot, which is this thing that is kind of an ongoing, wait a minute, maybe this sounds like a really bad lie. So if he's lying about this, what if he's lying about everything else? The tariffs, for
Oh, what
example,
if?
just went into effect for all practical purposes, the actual kind of tariffs that he's been threatening and talking about in the last 24 hours. Now, there will be a delay in their impact because the cost will be passed on, and everybody thought he was going to punt again and taco, and he very well may, by the end of the
Right.
week, rescind a bunch of them. Also, there are enormous carve-outs in almost all of them. So if he puts a 50% tariff on a country or says that he is, it's because there's a 45% tariff on steel from that country, which was relatively normal beforehand, and a 5% tariff on everything else, which was relatively normal
Mhm.
beforehand. And so they're setting up, I think, this plan seems to be an attempt by them to set up this idea like, see, it was no big deal. We put all these tariffs on. Everybody's screaming about my tariffs, and it's we're taking in money, and it's not really hurting anything. That's how they're going to sell this. Without the problem that they have is twofold. One is they're counting on that revenue to both give their tax cut a break, so that tax cut was given. They're going to make up for the revenue from the tax cut with tariff money. So when Trump's saying we're bringing in billions of dollars or even billions of dollars worth of investment, there are two issues primarily with that economically. One is costing the American consumer literally $1.5 trillion while bringing in $80 billion is not a compensatory move. It does not balance out. Secondly, the idea that the tariffs themselves are going to solve the debt is yet another fuse Trump has lit that will burn. And he knows it, and everybody knows it. There will not be enough money coming in from these tariffs to fill that gap. Not only to not pay for his tax cut, but to patch the hole in the deficit caused by the big budget-busting bill that they just passed. They know this, but they feel like, I think most of them, that this is going to be punted off a couple of years. So think of this as 2 weeks on steroids. That the ramifications of the debt aspect of the tariffs, right, is
The
just
2 weeks of like, yeah, we'll have a medical plan in 2 weeks.
that's right. That it's 2 years essentially. Imagine if he was just saying, wait 2 years, you'll see.
2 years.
But
2 years.
right, but that 2 years is after the midterms. This is the goal. After the midterms, that's when the damage from the tariffs actually happens. And then he's on his way out. He's a lame duck. And whoever comes after him, whether it's J.D. Vance or a Democrat in his mind, they will have to clean it up just like COVID. And then the Democrats or the rhinos, if let's say it's John Thune or somebody who's a run-of-the-mill Republican, is going to have to do a big cleanup afterwards, and everybody else can blame them for the problem they're cleaning up. It worked with Obama in 2008. It worked with Biden after COVID, and that this will be the playbook going forward. The answer to it for Democrats is, how Trump comes in and goes, I came in, there was such a mess, when he knows full well that the mess was cleaned up after he, before he came into office. There was a previous mess, and both Biden and Obama, righted the ship as best as anybody could. Democrats are going to have to run on cleaning up his big stupid mess. The debt he created, the dislocation of societies and families, the economic catastrophe that he has set in motion. Democrats are going to have to go almost run on the idea, not just that they're blaming him, but running on the fact that we all know this mess is coming and I'm the person that will clean it up. Not just on a negative sense like Trump does, which is I have to clean up the mess of the person before me, but I am uniquely suited to make this better, to fix this problem, to solve these issues. I'm not going to crime like him. I'm not going to, manipulate, crypto and enrich myself during this. I'm not going to bulldoze national monuments, in an attempt to glorify myself. And I'm not going to have like faux Christian events at the White House to draw attention away from, because they wouldn't have to, their multiple trips to Jeffrey Epstein's properties. Whoever the Democrat is that is running in the primary in 2008, that's how they're going to have to run. And it will be a successful campaign if they do. Not, again, blaming him for what happened, but saying we need to fix these things and I'm uniquely suited to do it. I think also there is...
And what's wild is that Kamala, people are taking some of her debate speeches and just like ticking off everything she said he was going to do. Right. And he's done it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I mean, like I've said, like these little executive orders and these little ceremonies, these participation trophy moments that he gets to have where he signs pages of Project 2025 as executive orders and then holds them up like a toddler holding up their diaper after making a boom boom. All of those moments, we all knew they were coming. And it's meant to, I think, largely, that's what we've done more in 200 days than anybody else, because he's making a parade out of every executive order. Every president comes in and signs executive orders redirecting any kind of money that's discretionary that they can target, or moving the DOJ towards focusing on something. They sign these things. They just don't gather the press into the White House and point at the artwork on the walls and the fact that they've laminated everything with gold in the process of signing every executive order. That's the difference. And so it's creating this illusion of busy work. And that's why MAGA will often cover for the fact that he's not releasing the Epstein files, or he hasn't been forthcoming, or he hasn't delivered on these mass deportations things, because it's this like hashtag look busy strategy. Look like you're doing something. Think of it.
We just got another super chat that was so generous. We went like 9 minutes. You're gonna have to go in the chair again. Make it look good, though.
What the heck? Check 1, check 2. Is that better? Check 1. Johnny, do you see me? Do you hear me? Am I here? Da da da. Check one, check two.
Hey,
check.
Here you go.
yep.
There we go. Sorry about that. I fixed it faster this time.
Back.
I think that's a good sign.
Can you tell what's going on? It's
Yeah.
madness.
Yeah. I'm frozen, but that's the camera thing I can fix. It's just, it's a major issue. I'm gonna go with a beta update that happened in the middle of the night. Let's just go with that. So,
On your iMac or whatever.
yeah, my computer, right? In theory, but we'll see. Like one thing at a time. But either way, so the issue being, let's see, I'll switch to let's go back to Johnny, and there's me, and then yep, I'm frozen. There we go. That will it's okay. I can I'll just go invisible until I fix it. There we go. It's just you, Johnny Million. I've left you on the deck
God.
all by yourself. Yeah. So the reality of this situation is that they're going to try and spackle all these all the Epstein issues with all the other things he's doing, because he looks busy and he's creating this illusion that he's solving a bunch of problems when he's literally creating new ones that no one asked for. Similar to, like, it's a mix of like the bad China deal phase 1 during COVID, and COVID will go away in the spring when the sunlight hits it on a banister. Those two things combined are going to are their current solution. And I'm here to tell you, kids, it ain't going to work. To put it as simply as I can, this distraction is the Streisand effect on steroids. It is effectively making it far worse. And I'm here for it. Let's take an actual break. We'll be back right after this, and I'll try and do some cleanup. Good Lord, while I'm at it. This is the House Marks Radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Sometimes I forget to wipe.
Thanks. Way to go out. Yeah.
Now Johnny's got the echo.
I don't know if I do.
Oh, that's Hal. I thought that was you.
Yeah, no, that's his move.
Again. Oh, yeah.
Not good.
Hal, you might want to answer the door. They're knocking a lot.
Right, something's super funky. Like, my monitors keep jumping. Yeah, this is some seriously funky stuff.
That's some seriously.
Yeah. It seems okay. It almost my camera almost came back for a second. That was fun.
I think this is a good time to announce that I will be streaming after today's show.
You rat.
And God knows how it'll happen. What'll go down. What bugs I'll
It's 60
find.
seconds. Do you guys need more time, though, Hal?
No, I mean, you can hear me, so and I think I figured out how to fix myself when it goes awry. So
The chat just said, poor Chicago.
I know. It's so rude. Okay, I'm gonna turn that off, and I'm gonna turn. Check. We're good. Turn this off. Check. Yep.
Check 1, 2.
And I'm gonna try and bring my camera back at some point, but it's just being a jerk. Not quite sure why. It's just you today, Johnny Million.
On the screen, that's horrible.
10 seconds, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. People in the chat are saying, poor Chicago. Poor Chicago.
What about
Well,
me?
poor Hal. What about me? It isn't fair.
Did we lose Hal?
Nope, I'm here. I was just waiting for you. I thought there were going to be music coming back. Are we back?
You not hear the music?
I do not.
Nope.
I did not hear
That's
music.
fun.
I hear you, but I did not hear music. And it's all right.
Oh, we're back.
Okay, welcome. Hi, everybody. We're doing the best we can, trying to hold it together in the crazy circumstances that exist in the technology stuff. And I was so excited to show you guys the new defense of Donald Trump from Maggotdom, which is that Trump is, and I quote, the opposite of feminine. Yeah, I gotta say, insofar as defenses of his masculinity go, which are, conspicuous and at the same time, few and far between. There is I enjoy watching them scramble around trying to defend him. And I also love the fact that when, on our side of the aisle, being attributed feminine characteristics or feminine traits as a man is not offensive at all. It just isn't, right? It's a little hard to like parse the reaction to it as anything other than just straight up homophobia or just low self-esteem on their parts, I guess.
Yeah.
But there is a very big Andrew Tate manosphere thing that helped Donald Trump get elected. And yet I have to say, as masculine archetype,
they have to come up with AI G.I. Joe Stretch Armstrong looking images of him.
Yeah, you got to put his head on Rambo's body or Rocky's body.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, look, it's hilarious to look at, but they mean it. And there has to be some sort of, I guess, derivation, some sort of circumstance where the root of it, they have to admit they sort of need it. We never felt the need to do that with any of our presidents, right?
Nope.
It wasn't necessary. I mean, the most you kind of say is like the hope pictures with Obama,
right?
Which is, kind of this like.
Yeah, that was. I had an Obama Hope T-shirt while he was running for president. I hear a very slight repeat coming back at us, Devin. Hal is no longer a sentient being. I was just about to joke that I should lip sync for what he was saying, so people would think it was coming.
It perhaps. Hello, check.
Yeah.
You're back.
Yes. Sorry. Thanks about. I'm just trying to make it worse. That's my goal. Behind the scenes, I'm just like scrambling as best I can to make the entire circumstance more difficult. Can you hear me, Johnny?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, good. So, in the middle of this whole Donald Trump is the opposite of feminine. This overcompensation. I don't think it helps them that there's been 2 videos released of his caddy helping him cheat at golf, which is the closest thing to even like remotely close to sports that he plays. And he even has to cheat at that. It's like, can you imagine the outcry if video came out showing that Obama didn't sink a 3-pointer and it was a cut, and then they had a guy throw the ball in from like one of those like viral videos they throw across a stadium and they fix with editing, right? That we've seen 2 of those in the last month with Donald Trump. We've seen 2 of them, and which means
what was the other one?
There were 2 shots of his caddy dropping the ball on the green.
He did it more than once?
Yes, and not just like a different angle at the same time. He did it again early last week, which means he does it all the time. And that the video of it has started coming out more and more, probably because he's playing more golf and he's doing it, I guess, publicly more. And so there are more people filming it or what have you. But I mean, he's always played a lot, but maybe they just gave him the benefit of the doubt or didn't show it, or his guy has gotten really sloppy throwing that stuff out there, right? In the meantime, we have this argument going about his masculinity and how virile he is as a human being, and all these pictures that we saw, and directly contrasted with he was a ladies' man, right? That was that he ran on that. As much as people are horrified by his behavior towards women and the quote unquote locker room talk, he dismissed his bragging about sexual assault. This was not. None of what he said offended maggotry. It offended us and caused outrage on the Democratic side, maybe even among some, Democratic-leaning independents or something like that. But it not only didn't defend maggots, it made them proud. They were impressed. They loved the fact that he was, that he was their dude, right? And for such a long time, they have sort of carried that, again, that ghost in the back of their head that says, yeah, well, he looks like a giant orange peep. He's not exactly the emblem of physical perfection. He's physically he's a mess. And that they could hide that back there too. They could almost like stuffing it like chipmunks stuffing nuts in their cheek. They could put them to the side a little bit and just go, well, we'll get to that later. Like, it's too important. We have to get all these illegals out of the country. We have to, whatever it is, whatever their particular panic was, whether it's Muslims or women's rights or whatever their bugaboo was that was driving them crazy, they had to have, they could put a pause on it for a time being, on all the stuff coming up about Trump, because that issue was so important to them. The problem though is he promised to solve those issues. But for, I guess, no men and women's sports, which was never really a threat in the first place, the incident rate is so small, it's so minor to the circumstance, that it never was. Even if it was happening, they couldn't see the change. They couldn't see the difference. They could, it isn't really making a difference in their life. It wasn't making their boys more competitive or endangering, their girls the way they thought it was. The 3 cases nationwide, and there was this phrase somebody brought up, I think last week, called nut picking, which is where they go out and they look like, that's what libs of TikTok is. Go find the craziest people online and then paint all liberals as such, right? And it's, you can argue that Jordan Klepper maybe does a little bit of that when he goes to Trump rallies, but it's not the same because he's not going on the internet, which is the broad swath of humanity, and picking out of, millions, if not billions. These are the people who gather at Trump's rallies specifically for him. And those are the ones
in order to make the Democrats sound crazy, like there's an AI video released of AOC pretending like she didn't understand what a ceasefire was.
Right. Yeah.
And we don't have to do that with them.
No. And the fact that they have to do it with us shows that there aren't as many crazies on our side as on their side. And that's another thing they have to deal with. But in the interim, you've got Roseanne and all these others who were promised a bill of goods. They were promised not just deportations on a scale we haven't seen before, but busloads, trainloads, millions of people being rounded up. 3 million people in the first year. This was the number. 3 million people minimum. 10% of the illusion of 35 million people that Trump sold them during 10% of those people were going to go in the first year. And you saying that was very exciting for them, almost feverishly so. But the problem is you gotta deliver. And if you were delivering on this stuff for those people on that scale, what you actually promised, not getting a 4-year-old kid with cancer kicked out, or scooping up a guy who's got an American wife who maybe is or used to be in a gang but probably isn't anymore, and busted him doing pickup jobs in a Home Depot parking lot. that's not what they were promised. As much as they might enjoy the cruelty of it, as much as maggots might enjoy skewering some folks with them, and they're enjoying the, kind of on a Stephen Miller level, the cruelty of it, they still don't. That's still not what they were promised. They were promised 3 million people rounded up. And if the Epstein stuff that we're seeing was going on while there were millions of people being rounded up by the hundreds of thousands on a monthly basis, they would forgive this. They would look the other way. They would hide this from their own conscience.
And when it all eventually does drop, they're going to say that the only ones that they accept being on the list are the ones that they don't like, and the ones that they do like, that's fake. They're not really on the list.
Yeah, see, I know that's been the habit before. And I think largely when it has to do with, Russia and financial ties and money and, property or graft, or, the idea that, Trump's in business with the Saudis and all these people just overtly opening buildings, golf courses, like promoting his own properties and stuff, and then them going after Hunter Biden for allegedly doing that, which never happened. Again, You know what's also missing besides the Epstein files? You know what's also missing? The Hunter Biden laptop. Of all things, if you want to talk about something they could physically drop that would make maggots happy, if it actually existed, which it does not.
Yeah, let's drop that thing. Let's watch Windows XP launch on that thing.
Yeah, exactly. Right. If they were going to do that, it's actually a Mac, allegedly. Remember, it's supposed to be a Mac that was dropped off at John Paul Mac Isaac's Mac shop. The nearsighted guy who
I only know old op systems for Windows.
Sure. Like John Paul McIsaac couldn't literally tell the difference between from more than 6 inches away between Don Jr. and Hunter Biden. Couldn't tell them apart in the lineup. Period. End of story. And that's their witness. And the guy also happens to be friends with Rudy Giuliani's personal lawyer, and his dad knows this FBI agent who Giuliani's close with in New York State. And these are the only connections they have. But that happens to be where Hunter Biden stumbles in with 3 wet laptops and goes, "Here, scan these to your heart's content," and never comes back for him. Right. But again, if they did
3 wet laptops is my least favorite fairy tale, by the way.
Yeah, it's a good one. But it is indicative of, if it existed, they could drop it and distract, right? They were promised, I would argue, right up there with deportations, they were promised Hunter Biden on a platter as well. Look where Comer was, this whole lead up. And then as soon as the presidency's over, it doesn't matter anymore. Then, he's not even on their list of witnesses of people they want to subpoena right now. They're going after Clinton at this point. It's so lame. But again, it would be one thing if Trump had made marginal promises and he was within the margin. That would cover this Epstein debacle. But he is not, cannot, and will not deliver on the things he promised, because they are far outside the realm of extraordinary. They are into the realm of lunacy. And he knows it, and his people know it, which is why all the distractions, which is why Scott Bessent is a stuttery mess, why, there's no consistent person going out messaging almost anything. Even Caroline Leavitt has to rotate where she's talking and the outfit she's talking in to distract MAGA from the fact that she's saying the exact same thing wherever she is. Now she's...
Or Trump has to go up on the roof?
Right. To which, true dyed-in-the-wool maggots like Nick Fuentes are responding, "Are the Epstein files up there?" While Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens attack him and call him a weird gay kid in a basement in Chicago. There's a lot of things you can call, Nick Fuentes that are rightly offensive because he's an offensive kind of dude. But weird gay or in a basement in Chicago aren't any of them. And yet, that's what should work with that maggotry. Yeah. They should jettison the guy, based on those qualifications alone, coming from Tucker Carlson. The point being is that Trump's tariffs, his tax cuts, his promises of prices coming down, his roundups of quote unquote illegals everywhere, and certainly his negotiating powers with Ukraine and Russia and Israel and Gaza that he touted would, never would have happened if he was there. So they should evaporate as soon as he shows up, and cost him about, would have taken a phone call and then they'd be over. None of that has turned out to be true, even remotely close to being true. And and they won't be. None of this is going to work out. He's already, he's tried his one tactic. Well, let's take a break. And when we come back, hopefully our sound and everything will hold. And I'll get my camera back up and working, if I dare. We'll cover it after this. We'll be back right after this. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. Okay, gonna switch headphones. 1 second.
We're back in 20.
Okay. Can you check for me, Johnny?
Check 1 2.
Checking
1 2.
Okay.
Check 1 2.
Okay, you're good. It gets crunchy. You know what I mean? Like it gets crackly right before the loop thing happens.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like the
You're locked into the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Well, I thought I'd have more time than that, but I guess not. I'm all right. So the lack of delivery from Donald Trump, and we'll be talking about the Ukraine issue with Philip Ittner, who'll be joining us in the next hour because I like playing with fire. But Trump is doing a strategy that I don't know why other people have not quite spotted it yet, and that is
let's hear about
it. It's almost like his version of the Macron handshake, which is make a deal with somebody, or in the middle of making a deal, claim that you have actually succeeded in making that deal, whatever it is. Like, we've already agreed to this, or they're on board with this whole thing. Say that publicly, and then shame them into, because they don't want to be embarrassed disagreeing, because Trump is that kind of weak. Shame them into say, we did. I mean, there's still some stuff to be worked out, and it's worked on some of the trade deals. Van der Leyen and others who've been in this situation, have said, we're very excited about this deal and the possibility of this deal and that kind of stuff, and things are moving ahead well and yada yada. But it's really a bunch of hooey, quite frankly. And and the reality is that there is no deal. They have not struck a deal in any of these senses. But Trump has fallen for the Macron handshake multiple times. And because he's weak, and because people around him, and this is the crucial part, are too weak to admit that that he is, I guess, I suppose they're such yes men that they can't jump between and go, hey boss, you didn't agree to that because he said he did, and that's that. So the situation he finds himself in is that these guys, all of them, I guess, are dealing with he can't be second guessed. He can't allow for them to second guess them, him, right?
Right.
And I'm going to try something in just 1 second, if I may. Hey, look at that. Oh, that's the wrong direction. Sorry. That's funny. Desk view camera. There you go. Turn myself. That he has, I think, very distinctly surrounded himself with such yes men that he cannot in any way how can I put this, like, they don't know if they're disagreeing with him or not.
Right.
Did I get the loop thing again? Okay.
It got crackly. It got crackly.
Yeah, that crackly thing happened on my end too. That was weird. I think it might be because I'm leaning close to the microphone. I'm radioactive. That's clearly the problem. So,
duh.
But the reality from him, anyways, is that the people around him cannot second guess him, and he doesn't know what he's saying. This is what I want to get across. Like, it would be one thing, ladies and gentlemen, if he was making some sort of a deal and he was keeping his people in the dark, or he was playing 5D chess or some nonsense. He is not, in any stretch of the imagination, doing any of that. He is talking out of his rectum. He is covering for his own ignorance, which again, remember, when he's talking about the tariffs, you have to understand this is the same person who said that you could stick a light bulb up your keister and pour bleach into your lungs and maybe disinfect them during COVID. It's the same brain spouting this same stuff. And so his solutions about these things is that he thinks he can manipulate reality. He can outrun gravity. He can talk a stone out of falling on him as it falls from the sky because he wants to debate gravity with it. And you simply cannot. And he's learning this. Will he ever learn it? No. But the people around him are learning this the hard way.
Yeah.
The people around him, more than anyone else, are now becoming brutally aware that this man they've put all their faith in has no idea what he is talking about. And he's talking a lot. It used to be
Did
a
he really
thing
say magnets
where
stop working if they get wet?
Yes, right. This is the same brain saying all this stuff. That's what I think people are having a hard time coming to grips with. This is a guy who, and I'm going to switch to the camera. Hey, look at that. There you go. And then go back to me and Johnny and see if I can do this. And then I'm going to try and bring myself in on a different, look how large I am.
You are playing with fire, my man.
I am. I'm so messing around. I'm ginormous. It's exciting, actually. And I'm kind of for it. And I'm see-through a little bit. He is, everybody around him is on thin ice. The conversations that are happening in the White House, we've heard this multiple times, are half like people trying to line themselves up to be the follow-on to Donald Trump. They're going to be the next in line. So they're trying to suck up to him as much as is humanly possible. And then there is the other group, which knows he's a failing entity, a collapsing system. No matter what they do, none of this is going to work out. They know it. Whether it's, Scott Bessent, who has been trying to a lot of these guys, especially Bessent, he looks like he's wrestling with the controls on a plane that's crashing. Like, if you ever watch an old movie where they're just fighting the stick, trying to get the plane to pull up because there's not enough air pressure to do it, and they're fighting the Bernoulli effect, and they know if they yank it up, it will crash, but if they put no pressure on it, they're going to hit the mountain. That's what they look like. They're all stressed with this kind of how do we land this plane? Because we've got this tremendous amount of weight in the nose, and it's Donald Trump. These are the two groups. Outside the White House, that's inside the White House. Outside the White House, there are two groups of maggots. Those that have assigned themselves the task or have been assigned the task of carrying water for Trump no matter what. If we don't support the president, the terrorists win. That mentality, those seeds were thrown on fertile soil with these folks. They will never stop wearing an R on their blazer. They insist that they must do this because if they don't support him, the immigrants will flood. We'll have more caravans. It's all going to start up again. Trans people everywhere, like that. What Trump calls transgender for everyone. which is, again, transhumanism. He thinks transhumanism, which is what Peter Thiel and these guys are into, is transgender for everyone. I can't stress this is the same brain that gave you
transhumanism
people
is
seeking
like
asylum come from asylums.
Putting your thoughts and brain into a computer for living forever.
Yes. That's what transhuman is. Moving beyond biology to extending the human race and basically making us cyborgs or storing our brains in computers or what have you. There's varying degrees on genetics and genetic perfection.
I feel like I'm gonna.
Oops. Now it's my turn.
Me a cyborg brain. I'm gonna be like, I don't know. A nice nap sounds pretty good.
Oh, the cryo thing sounds good, right? Oops.
Yeah.
It says.
Yeah.
This one suddenly says I'm offline. No, okay, I'm back online. You're fine. There was a weird twitch over there on It's going to end up being Ecamm, isn't it? It's going to end up being the thing that worked very well to get my guests in is going to be the thing that hit the fan. That's what it's going to be, isn't it? Just to be rude. All right.
Maybe.
I'm so like holding my breath and crossing my fingers in this circumstance over the next little bit to hope everything works out. I'm using my phone's camera right now to get myself online, and it's just sitting on my desk.
People were guessing it was the cat cam.
The cat cam?
Yeah.
No, that's still pointed at my feet.
And if that's an option, it'd be cute.
Yeah, I could do the show lying on the ground. I kind of feel like doing it right now after the technical issues we've had this morning. It's like I got to tell you, this is like this reminds me of like the old days, when we used to have to fight these kind of things every weekend. Remember that? Devin does. He's still got the scars to prove it.
Pretty bad for a good stretch.
Yes, we'll be back right after this. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide, with Philip Ittner right after the break.
Woo!
Yeah, like I bet that's what it is. Like it's just being a big old jerk. What I'm gonna do though is let's see.
I'll be right back.
Yes, no problem. Let's go back to here. Okay, and then I'm going to
for my show tonight. I got little little stretchy wristbands for my Apple Watch, so it's like a sweatband Apple Watch.
Cool. Hold on one second. I'm going to do something dangerous.
And I don't think it does the heart rate as well, but it doesn't matter.
Let's see if that works again. I don't know if it will. Who can say? Hey! And I'm all small again. Look at that.
What?
It worked.
This is me. I'm over here. Which way do I need to look? All right, Hal, I see you on YouTube with the keyboard, but I don't hear you right now. I don't know if you can hear me. Hey, chat, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Johnny, if that helps.
Thank you, Devin. Yeah, the audio went away, Hal. Evidently they are hearing a loop. No audio, Tal Vickery, looping. I'm scratchy again. They hear me, I'm scratchy. Ooh, I sound like a Dalek. Terminate. Oh, are you doing? I think Hal's doing burpees.
Yes, I am. I'm doing burpees. That's exactly what I'm doing.
Coming back in 20.
Oh God.
Why is this? Why does it not want to? Okay, something is up with my camera.
Do you guys need more time?
No, I think we're okay. You can
Yeah.
hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was crackly again. I don't know what's up. Hold on. I'm gonna go to 2 guests real quick, and oh, that's good. That's particularly terrific.
You're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I've had people walk out of me before, but not when I was being so charming.
Video streaming at halsparks.com.
I don't care for you or for the putrid sludge you're troweling out.
Damn puss-faced little pimp stick.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
Welcome back to the show.
Right.
So I think you guys can hear me just fine, and that's all that really matters right now. And Philip Ittner is with us as well. I'll have him up on camera, even if I can't be, in just a second. It's a lot of fun.
You should call in the way Phil and I do.
Yeah, that's right. You guys can just talk amongst yourselves. It probably will be a more. I know how
hear
much.
Phil. Hi, Phil.
Yes.
Oh, good. Hi, Johnny.
I know how much you enjoy talking to Phil, and
I
how
can
much he
riff
enjoys
like nobo's business.
with Phil. Yes,
I can
absolutely.
get to talking about every song on Just to Kill if it comes to that, but all this stuff, I don't know.
Right. All right. So I'll have him on camera in just 1 second. There we go. And ladies and gentlemen, Philip Ittner, there he is. Excellent. And then I'll check myself out. It's kind of good. It's like you get a reprieve. I mean, this would be good. This will be good to know if I ever have a really big zit and I need to get myself out of frame, and like, well, I'll just do the show incognito. Oh, this is like Russell Brand wearing sunglasses on the air to hide the fact that his eyes show that he has 4 sexual assault charges in 2 different countries. Welcome, Philip Ittner. And I guess the primary thing that I want to talk about before audio collapses right before my very eyes is the alleged deal that that came up, and this idea that Trump thinks that Zelensky could just categorically give away land without listening to the Rada, and Zelensky's response to it, which is like, nah, that's not how it works.
Yeah. There's that. There's the Alaska meeting where obviously, Putin is going to lead Trump around by his nose. He'll make some request that he knows darn well Ukraine can't accept, even legislatively, much less in the court of public opinion. This is the people will take to the streets if what is being alleged Putin is bringing to the table in Alaska, it'll be 100% unacceptable. And they know that. And this whole thing, to me, stinks of a bit of kabuki theater where they're trying to maneuver Putin and Trump into being on the same side against a belligerent Zelensky. The hairs in the back of my neck are sticking up when it comes to that kind of prospect. So I would not hold my breath. Yes, Putin absolutely adheres to everything he signs.
Right.
So look, I'm not holding out great hopes for Alaska talks, and I don't think anybody else should. We'll see what happens. I'd be perfectly happy to be wrong. If there is, as has been floated, the idea of, Ukraine gets to keep 2 of the 4 oblasts, which are just states or provinces in the east of the country, and Russia takes the 2 that they've occupied for the last 10 years. Territorially, that might be something that could be sold to the Ukrainian people. I think Putin goes home with those circumstances, and he faces a whole bunch of other problems because they will have lost over 1 million casualties for something that is strategically no longer important and is also a tiny stretch of land and mostly destroyed. The whole thing stinks. And I think Trump and Putin are playing a game, and without direct Ukrainian involvement and Zelensky's involvement, this is not going to come to anything.
Yeah. Hal, are you still there?
Yes, I am. I'm just trying to work out my audio stuff on this end of things.
Okay.
So yeah,
I do have one question for Phil if you need me to buy you some more time.
Go for it. Yes, that'd be great.
Okay, so this is from Paul McSwibbity. Ask Phil what he thinks about Spiderweb 2.0 attacks and how many times it will work.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we can even call it Spiderweb 2.0. I think it's just a new technique that the Ukrainians have I don't want to say perfected, but they have gotten to a point where it is an effective weapon to be used in Russia. How much longer will it continue to be useful? I suspect for quite some time. And also they can make alterations to it. They can use different kinds of vehicles. They can, they could put them on boats and, go through Russia's waterways. They could, there's a ton of different things that they can do with this technology that Russia will be hard pressed to defeat every variation that the Ukrainians will keep coming up with. They're not going to keep doing it the exact same way. And as a matter of fact, this what is, I guess, not just by our person asking the question there, but apparently there was a variation in this attack in that they didn't use large kind of U-Haul trucks or semi-trucks. They used smaller cargo vehicles like, transportation vans and things like that. And they're going to keep doing that. And not only that, they have human intelligence inside Russia. So they're going to continue to be able to evade authorities for quite some time. They will adapt. They'll tinker, and they're going to keep. The whole point is to keep bringing the war to Russia's interior, and they're not going to stop doing that. And whether it is Spiderweb or Spiderweb 2.0, 3.0, onward and upward, they're going to keep attacking. I mean, they're developing longer range missiles. They're developing longer range drones. I think recently, within like the last 48 hours, they have the longest recorded drone distance attack, the longest distance that any drone has gone in an attack. So they're at the forefront of drone technology in Ukraine, and it's not going to stop.
Yeah.
I feel like the strategy going forward, like with Trump's supposed meeting that's going to happen now in Alaska of all places, which is just bizarre, unless he's going to like offer to give Alaska back to Russia. Like, let us keep the oil and you can have the polar bears and deal with all the snow or some nonsense. Like, or he thinks it's a PowerPoint that like, I'll sit there. Like, we got this from you, Hardy Hart. Like that, he thinks it's a power move. And
he's also indicted. He's an indicted man. He can't just travel the world. Putin.
Yes, that's right.
He's indicted by the International Criminal Court in The Hague, and if he goes to any country in the world that adheres to that warrant, he should be arrested. So there's not a lot of places they can do it. Yeah.
Right. So again, whether it happens or not, I guess, is the big question. But ultimately, Trump cannot deal on behalf of the Ukrainians without the Ukrainians' consent. Mm-hmm. So part of this is a power play he's not even in a position to make in the first place. So all he can do is set himself up for another situation where he's mad at Zelensky?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I really do think they're setting up Zelensky to be the bad guy, to take the fall for this. And then, of course, they can put certain stresses on things domestically. I mean, We have had, recently there have been street protests, and it wasn't about Zelensky. It was about a law that was put into practice here and then was revoked by the Zelensky government. But there are cracks, there are stresses within the Ukrainian society that they could exploit. And I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow, but a few months down the road, maybe a year down the road, they could situate things where Zelensky's approval rating plummets. I don't think that's going to be an easy thing to achieve. Ukrainians are kind of smarter than that. They know Russia's ways, but there are people who are unhappy with him. Their objectives remain: change the government in Kiev to one that is more pro-Moscow and take control of Odessa so that they regain control of the Black Sea Fleet. Those are the two primary strategic goals of Moscow, and I don't think they're going to achieve either. I think that this ploy to, again, Trump is going to be led around by his nose. This is not, I heard someone saying, oh, this is the first time we see that maybe Trump is taking the leadership position in the relationship between Putin and Trump. And that's just baloney. I mean, he is absolutely compromised by the Kremlin, like it or not, in one way, shape, or form. And so, no, Putin's in the driver's seat if this meeting happens in Alaska. And he knows exactly how to undermine Zelensky as well. Divide and conquer. That's always Putin's tactic.
Agreed.
Yeah.
You guys can hear me okay?
Now I can hear you.
Yeah, great. So, and Johnny, I don't know if we have another question, but
Not just yet. Okay. Oh, no, wait, I do have one. Luis wants to know who other than President Zelensky would Philip like to have on the edge?
Oof. Timothy Snyder would be great. Would love to have Anne Applebaum. Would love to talk to her. There are lots of people. Our guest this week is a really good guest. He is he's a Ukrainian, but he used to be an executive with Rosatom. And Rosatom is the Russian state-run nuclear agency, both civil and military. So he worked for them for about 10 years. We get to talk about how obviously Russia's nuclear arsenal is being used as a deterrent and a threat against the West, and that's why the West is reluctant or not as willing to support Ukraine as perhaps they should be. It's the saber rattling, and it's the big scary club that they've got that they use, and the West tends to kind of bend the knee to it all the time. But in addition to that, on the civilian side of things, we get to as fossil fuels are being diminished on the global trade and exchange for Russia's coffers, the world is still very much reliant on Russian atomic energy infrastructure because the Rosatom helps build nuclear power plants. They provide the rods, and then when the rods are spent, they will take them back to bury them in the middle of nowhere in Siberia. So these countries are basically being extorted for Russia's nuclear capability in a civilian capacity for energy, and that helps fuel the war. Additionally, this guest is a gentleman who is from Donetsk, and when he left Moscow, he returned and became an advisor to a governor out there. So we get to talk about the period, the Minsk period, the 2014 to 2017 is when he was there. So we get to talk about the violations the Russians were doing during Minsk and how everybody in the West was terrified of actually calling out Moscow on their various violations, because then the Minsk Accords would fall apart and everybody was kind of hoping that they could just, last long enough that it'll all just go away. So we talk about a whole bunch of things. So it's a good conversation. But yeah, Timothy Snyder, Ann Applebaum, Ambassador Mike McFaul would be a good guy to talk to. Several guests. Yeah.
Awesome. And I think we should probably do the quarter after break. And
Check 1.
coming back to us.
Check
if
2.
you're wondering.
Yep. Check.
Oh,
You hear me
I
okay?
hear now.
Yeah.
Yep. You sound a little robotic, but not bad.
Yeah, same thing going that way. I'm trying to fix it. I think it might be a volume issue on this microphone. I switched mics because I didn't trust the software on the other one to not have been the freak out point. So I'm basically like battening down the hatches everywhere I possibly can to try and troubleshoot as we go. I'll bring this down.
Evidently, I'm crackly again.
Yeah, that's a thing as well. So I think that's a loopback issue. They may have an update that we're not aware of. There were a bunch of updates lately with Apple, and I feel like people are chasing the updates. Like they're not catching up with some of the audio and video stuff. That's my guess. I'm going with that because
it's always updates.
It's always what?
It's always the updates.
Say again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I hear you. There was just it gets
always
blurby.
the updates. Can you not hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Coming back in 10 seconds.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
And then we go
Thank
back
you.
to this.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Welcome back. So, a myriad of questions that I have as well in terms of, obviously, I don't know if we've checked in on whether or not Trump was able to solve this in an hour with one phone call. And I would also stack this against the promises that Trump has made and the sort of Lucy with the football or the rug pull that has been a standard aspect of the Trump presidency for, not only with him and his own base, but with Putin and him. There seems to be a crap rolling downhill aspect of this with Putin and Trump himself and the general maggotry out there, that everybody is over promising and under delivering while selling that it's already better. Like he had a meeting between Armenia and Azerbaijan to talk about a peace settlement that it effectively has been already in place. That they would, this is like the Abraham Accords. Like I'll make a peace deal between countries that aren't currently at war. Like I'll settle all the conflicts that are basically personality issues versus stuff that's actually dangerous or an ongoing battle. Like that, obviously there's no attempt to fix Sudan, right? That's an active war zone where people are dying in mass, larger death count than what's happened in Israel and Gaza, but he's not going anywhere near that, right? So
no.
What are the chances that there's going to be a rug pull by Vladimir Putin, that this is him being, as Trump would call it, tapped along?
Well, look, here, Putin's problem is he can't stop and he can't keep going.
Right.
If he is to stop, it'll only be temporary.
Right.
But even that is going to be risky for him because he's going to have to go back to his people and say, we have spent 1 million lives, either killed or irreparably harmed, for a teeny tiny portion of the country of Ukraine. We have not achieved a fraction of our goals. And if he can sell that to his people with the sense of like, yes, but puts us in a better position for a war, in 5 or 10 years, which he will have to openly do to placate. I mean, I can't see another way of him placating his people. So, Ukraine is going to be sitting here on the other side of the border going, well, we're going to have a massive buildup then. And we're going to have to, we're going to have to put in defensive lines and spend a huge percentage of our GDP and continue to get support from the international community because the Russians are clearly planning on coming back again. And yet at the same time, there has to be a way for these two to figure out a way to have a border and be neighbors. Easier said than done. So there's so many complexities to this, but what has been floated by Moscow of guarantees of neutrality so that Ukraine doesn't have any allies, disarmament, of all NATO weaponry, which you're basically I just mugged you, but now I'm going to say, you've got to put your weapons away and, maybe I'll come back and mug you again, but you won't have a gun next time. It's just, it's going to be completely unacceptable to Ukrainians. Again, the whole thing is, I think, meant for consumption domestically within America. And it's a bit of Putin being rehabilitated. And he's going to have that photo op with Donald Trump, the president of the United States, very similar to what happened in North Korea. You meet with these people, and in many ways, what you're doing is you're legitimizing them. And Putin should not be legitimized. Putin is a war criminal. Putin is a mass murderer. It's not. I don't think this is going to come to anything, and if anything, I think this is going to be detrimental to stopping the war instead of actual concrete negotiations. And we also have to discuss the Europeans, because the Europeans are going to look at this and be like, well, if the negotiation ends up in such a place where Ukraine is going to be so easy to roll over the next time in 5-10 years, once Russia has rehabilitated its military, then they're going to be right on our borders, which means the Europeans are going to have to start spending massive percentages of their GDP, and also looking at a completely different geopolitical atmosphere, because is America withdrawing from the European continent, and to what extent? So the fact that it's Putin and Trump sitting down as the first stage of this negotiation is, again, I think this is so much kabuki theater. I am not optimistic. No. As a matter of fact, when I heard the announcement, I felt deeply concerned, because it's just another play. It's another machination, which means to me that this war is going to go on for a much longer time. Right.
So I guess the question then, I was attempting to fix something and it didn't work, so never mind. In the meantime, it's very arty though right now online. With this, this rug pull and the fact that Trump is making promises he cannot deliver on. He just simply cannot. Who's the first to realize this? The people around him, right? Do they already know? I feel like they should or do. Or does, Trump wake up to this mess, right? Because there's, that.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet on that
right?
one. But look, also everybody that he has around him are they're amateurs. Steve Witkoff being the point man on this, he's a real estate developer. What does he know about Russian geopolitical, strategy and intent and aims and goals. And how often has he negotiated settlements? I mean, Trump has systematically during his first term in particular, but I'm sure he's doing it right now,
right,
sweeping in anybody at state who has any expertise, because they're going to tell him things that he doesn't want to hear.
right.
And so we've got a bunch of yahoos running things. So I don't think they're going to whisper in Trump's ear either. I think the entire thing is going to be almost farcical, and the Russians are going to show up with guys like Lavrov and Peskov and all these incredibly adept diplomats and statesmen and negotiators and spies. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. Yep.
Sure.
Mm. Yeah. So where to? So where do we go after the after ECAM?
Coming back in 10.
Thank you.
You're locked into the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Mm. Yeah.
Well, but JD Vance, Tulsi Gabbard. I know he's not in the cabinet, but Michael Flynn, with his influence within the MAGA movement, they have bought into the narrative that Moscow has been selling. And so it might not have to be compromise. It might not have to be some sort of form of pressure. It might just be that they can convince them that their worldview, the Kremlin's worldview of everything being binary, um, large sections of the globe are controlled by regional powers. Moscow has its sphere of influence, Beijing has its, and Washington has its. They have openly, people like J.D. Vance and the rest of them have openly expressed similar views of how the world should be run. And that is a complete divergence from what, at least in my entire lifetime, um, we have done in the United States, with that is obviously an oversimplified statement. I mean, we've exerted our power and influence in different spheres and different areas of the globe as well, but the idea of it always being binary, and somebody wins, somebody loses. This is very much the way the Kremlin sees the world, and I think it's also the way JD Vance sees the world. Oh yeah. Mm. Yeah.
The chat seems to think they can't hear you. Yeah, they can hear you on the radio stream, but they can't hear you over YouTube, I guess.
To this one. So here we go. Hopefully that's better. Sorry about that. Thank you, chat room, for letting us know. Always trying to salvage stuff everywhere to try and eliminate putting out fires one by one.
But the idea that the awareness that eventually when it comes to someone like Vladimir Putin, you're going to run up against it's him or me. Mm-hmm. I mean, that has to be part of your awareness when you're dealing with somebody like this. That he might be your buddy up to a certain point, but when it becomes crunch time, this guy is going to make it a war of attrition, me or him. And Trump has to know this, especially as the stakes get higher. Before the stakes, I got to say, in the Russian interference in our elections conversation, the stakes weren't that high for Russia. There might have been some sanctions and stuff, but it was nowhere near 1 million dead and a failing war and losing their relationship with China and their economy taking a crap and all this stuff. This is new ground, and as it gets more severe, and you're going, okay, if I have to make a deal through Trump and I don't get this land out of it, somebody's got to go, right? That's the part that, is stacking up around, like in my head.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I get your point. I think that's entirely possible. And of course, Trump is also someone who also thinks all relationships are binary, and that ultimately in any deal, somebody walks away having gotten the better of the other. So he operates in that mentality regardless anyhow. But I really do genuinely think that he has this idea that we can come to an accommodation. Vladimir has his interests. Xi has his interests. Let them do that, and I will become the king of America. Right. And that's because he's an idiot.
Right.
He's
Lex Luthor and Superman too. I hate pop culture references in this, but Lex Luthor, King of Australia. I'm like, don't you remember? I'm the guy who gave you Superman's address. I gave you the next best thing. You hold on to her, and he'll come. Like Trump wants to be the guy negotiating with powers beyond his comprehension, and it's why I think he panics around the concept of even talking about the nuclear aspect of things, because he knows that's the big dumb idea of the cat out of the bag, the opening of Pandora's box. He doesn't have the mental capacity to recognize the wreckage that he is creating worldwide already, because he lacks empathy and he lacks the ability to care about anybody but himself. So the damage that's being done is kind of like, well, can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs. But he recognizes, like an idiot, that runaway nuclear war is obviously bad, because he's seen a fair number. He's seen Terminator 2, right, or halfway. He's seen some element of it. So that's what's on his mind. But he can't grasp that there are other aspects of this that are incredibly damaging, not just to our country, but to other countries, and things that are worth fighting for on in other people's opinions, because he has no attachment to the outcome in these circumstances. He just doesn't. He can't. I don't even know if he can fathom.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's completely out of his depth. He always has been. Right. And Putin is going to outclass him. I mean, it's just. I'm seeing all this discussion of like, oh, Putin's in a bind. I saw Chuck Todd saying this to somebody today, where he was like, "Oh, I think Putin's looking for an off ramp. I think he comes to Alaska and he'll do whatever he can do to get in. And I'm like, he's screwed if the war ends tomorrow. He is screwed.
Yeah.
And he is not looking for an off-ramp. What he is looking for is a way to get the best of what he can possibly get out of the situation where it is now, get a draw breath, rebuild his military, keep his people working in a war economy so that they're employed, and they may not be in the best of economic situations, but they're building new tanks and new munitions and things like that. And then he comes back and he tries it in 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, whatever years. Meanwhile, Europe is going to be spending all its money. The war will be 10 times worse if Putin is allowed to walk away from this without major ramification, including the sanctions. And we haven't talked about that, and we should.
Yeah.
If he is given a reprieve on the sanctions, we'll have another war. We're going to have another war. They will walk away, they'll lick their wounds, and they'll come back.
And the curiousness of his focus on Indian sanctions on the purchase of Russian oil specifically as a motivating factor, because he looks at the Indian market for the value it can bring to, U.S. consumers. There's a billion people. If we can't sell to China, not just because they won't let a lot of stuff in, but because the Chinese people, by and large, have been either trained by their government or have become hostile to the United States. They don't want to buy American goods out of a sense of nationalism. India does not have that. So even if you're able to get in there part way, there's, the equivalent, let's say you could get a third of the Indian people to buy American goods of some sort. You have the full American populace buying goods from the American market again, right? So he could double the consumerism of the United States and keep things afloat if the Indian market opens up wide. That's what this is about more than anything. And I think that self-interest, that moneyed interest on his behalf is the, on his part rather, is the thing that is, overrides, like the financial gain from that overrides any loyalty he might have to Vladimir Putin, especially as Putin is, may have promised him an easy out with this war, and then it pulled the rug, right? Let's take a break. We'll come back right after this. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. Was it getting robotic there at the end, or is it just me?
Your mic is doing a funny thing where it sounds like somebody turns the tone knob all the way down and then it slowly wakes up.
Huh. Okay. I'm using this wireless one because I had to turn off the other audio software to make sure that wasn't causing the problem. So, but it sounds. What's the tonally? Are we okay?
It is what it is.
Johnny, you can hear me talk though?
Yeah, it's very muffled though, and I'm evidently crackly.
Oh,
I know why. Let's see if this does it. There we go. Is that better? Check 1, check 2.
Yes, much better.
I'm a big dummy. I had it inside out. This microphone is, the little piece comes outside. Unlike the ones that we normally wear, the one that has the bigger piece on the outside, this one is the other direction. Sorry. So dumb. That's what happens when you're operating under duress. Damn it.
It's been a scramble.
Yeah, man. I'm going to do a clean sweep. And I'm on the road all this week. I'll be out all this week operating out of a hotel room. But next Saturday, I'll be back here or whatever. So I'm going to do a clean sweep of everything, reset the software tonight before we leave.
I am happy, you are happy. Let us be happy together, whether the weather is cloudy or sunny. I will always be trying to help honey bunny. I am lucky, you are lucky. Let us get lucky together. Whether the weather is cloudy or breezy, I'll be there to say, hey, come on, let's take it easy. Cause isn't it nice to have the friends that you do? And isn't it nice that the sky is so blue? And isn't it nice to say,
Was that me? Is that me dropping out? Did I lose you guys there for a split second? Was it a big panic attack? Johnny Million?
cereal?
Yes?
Yay! Hooray!
Yay! Can you hear us, Hal?
Yay!
It's funny because you're choppy. That's probably on my end. I'm gonna guess
I'd
it's
imagine.
that. So fire it up. Go ahead.
All right, so evidently Phil and I are still very crackly, but I'm going to read this question from Cindy C to Phil. Please ask Phil if he's heard about the Russian Black Widows. They marry men, convince them to join the army, and then collect all the benefits.
Yeah, I have heard that. I mean, it's deeply cynical, but yeah, it is something that apparently is happening inside Russia.
Keep going. If you got another one.
All right, I've got one from TSN Broadway. I've only got 2 more questions, Hal.
I got it. Don't worry.
How worried is Putin about the Chinese invading parts of Russia?
It's got to be on his mind. We know that he's done certain things to kind of shore up the Far East a bit, and he's openly kind of expressed concern about it, but he's stuck. He's stuck. Now, the reality of whether or not China does try and take some of his territory out in the Far East, we shall see. I mean, we've talked about it here before. They're changing the names on the maps. The Chinese are.
Yep.
Back to their, their old Chinese names as opposed to the Russian names. There's no love lost between Moscow and Beijing. They have a common enemy in the West, so for now they're kind of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. But if you look back into the history of Russia, actually it is China that's been the larger threat to them many times over their history than Europeans have. 200 years with the Napoleonic War and the German invasion. Russians look at Europeans as their primary threat or enemy, and in many ways they do with America because they compare themselves as superpowers that have access to both the Atlantic and the Pacific. They're kind of wrong about that, and they know it. But ultimately, if you look into their history and you talk and you read some of their perspective on China, they know that eventually there's a very good chance that they're going to have to turn east and fight the Chinese more than they're going to have to worry about Europeans. So, yep, that I am sure in some place in Putin's mind that is active. It'll be probably long before long after he shuffles off this motor coil, but he's got to know that the threat from China to Russia is a pretty big one.
Right. I mean, I have, obviously I pay a great deal of attention to that particular issue, and it's important to people, know that geopolitically that this illusion of stability both inside China and in Russia at the same time is a pot that is boiling on the stove already. That these, it is they got a lid on it as best they can, but it's going to boil over. And in many areas in China, whether it's the increase in attacks on society, these stabbing events that they have, or people driving their cars through large groups of people, these have been big news stories when they happen in the United States occasionally, when somebody politically motivated or misanthropic does some sort of attack. It's usually got some greater cause that they at least try to sell in this. When it happens in China, it's literally just an individual who's fed up, and those are starting to stack on top of each other. There's sort of this copycat mentality on top of it. if you look at any of the Moscow and St. Petersburg Telegram channels that just kind of do the generalized gossip around there, the number of serial killers that they have on the loose, the number of like violent crimes and sexual crimes have been going up increasingly as you've got guys, the ones that were able to return from the front who fought their 6 to 10 months or whatever it was from a couple of years ago when they were getting them out of prison, when Prigozhin was making those marches around. Like, those guys are back home now, and they're unemployed and drunk and causing a lot of harm. There's both of those countries have, and they're not. It doesn't seem like it, anyways. And I'm sure there's there people who are trying to keep their societies sewn together on a local level as best they can. But on a federal level, nobody is attempting to like solve this. You know, Trump is, badgering blue cities and blue states about crime and stuff when it's already gone down. There is not even, language around that in China or Russia. As a matter of fact, they actively pretend it isn't happening because it's a pride point against the United States. Look how much crime the United States has. We don't have any, right? We don't have a drug problem. We don't have a crime problem. We don't have sexual assault problems, whatever. When they absolutely do, off the charts, because humans are humans. And the more you hide it and pretend it isn't there, the easier it is for those members of society to act upon their worst impulses and do this stuff. So Russia and China have both been bubbling over with this sort of criminality. And there's not going to really be a remedy to it until they come to terms with it. And they actively can't, because it will be seen as like this weird, it's almost like MAGA dealing with Epstein. Like, if we start admitting the truth to ourselves, the other side wins. And
there's one other quick thing about the Chinese-Russian relationship is that Russians are not going to like continuing to be a client state of China, which is in effect what they are.
Absolutely.
And it's widely known. It is not spoken about a lot, but the racism in European Russia towards the Asiatic populations in Russia, the fact that they just don't, that they're very, a whole chunk of this entire war is that the Russians feel they've been disrespected on the global stage. Well, more and more, China is going to be wanting something in return for their largesse.
Mm-hmm.
And the Russian, I don't think Russians are going to be very happy as long as this kind of like we have to bend over and take it from Beijing because we can't sustain ourselves.
Well, right.
So,
and there is no remedy for it. I mean, you want to talk about like how hard it's going to be to move manufacturing back to the United States to the point where it actually creates jobs. Like I said, creating these big vending machines where they can crank out cars in dark factories is the future of how manufacturing is going to go. But say what you will about that problem, at least a lot of this stuff came from America. Like we made the stuff in the first place. Even if we outsourced the manufacturing, the education system, the brains behind these things, the chip designers and all that kind of stuff live in the United States and work here. So if you did move it home, you'd at least have people that knew how to run it. In Russia's case, they've either fled the country, as they did in the beginning of the war, or Russia sent them off to die for nothing with a cardboard cutout of an AK-47 in their hands. And so even if how do you remedy bringing back manufacturing or industry, get off the war footing in the first place, to go back to what? Oil production? There's already a glut. And one of the things that's confounding Trump right now is the fact that grocery prices. He said, you bring down energy and everything else comes down with it. Well, first of all, the tariffs are going to mess that up entirely. It's going to zero it out or make it worse. And secondly, there's already, by no action of his, there's already an oil glut happening. And that's with Russian oil by and large, and Venezuelan oil by and large, and Iranian oil by and large being removed from the marketplace. You put those three back in, the price goes to $20 a barrel. We're back in COVID territory. And if you're Russia and that's it, what else are you going to do? Make whatever the Lada cars or whatever those things are? Like, honest to God, like, you're not going to sell it to anybody that isn't Russian. So where does that market go? Like, the war is the only thing keeping the economy afloat at this point. You know, it's like that old Bobcat Goldthwait joke. You know, it's like war's good for the economy because a dead guy can't flip a burger. You know, that it's good for unemployment because you can't have them unemployed if they're standing around. You know, nobody's standing around unemployed because you just put a gun in their hand and send them to the front line and suddenly problem solved. That's where Russia is with this stuff. And I like
all Russia has to offer is stuff that they can either rip out of the ground or tear, you know, cut down trees or, you know, some sort of natural resource that they can exploit. You know, and the only other industry that they had at one point was their military industrial complex, which has been shown to be woefully inadequate.
Right.
So when this war ends, they got nothing.
Well, and Trump is jumping in. That'll be another conversation for next time, because the next time we speak, they will have already had this. Well, next time we do this on the radio, they will, in theory, have had this little Alaskan summit situation where it's Trump and Putin alone in an igloo, you know, leg wrestling to solve this or whatever the heck happens. But Trump has also, because he's so driven by self-interest and doesn't realize that maybe Russia would have a problem with this, is also driving up arms sales. Like, Trump would love to sell arms to Iran. He would like to take all the client states that Russia has and sell to them, including India. That's part of the thing with India as well, is that India gets some of their military stuff from Russia, or has in the past, and he wants to sell it to them. We're at the end of the show. I appreciate everybody and their patience today. Love everybody in Chicago for dealing with this. Thank you, Philip Ittner, host of On the Edge, new show tomorrow. His will go off technically without a hit at all, and so will Johnny Million's live stream, which is coming up right after this on his Twitch channel, twitch.tv/It's Johnny Million. I'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye. Man, oh, Shevitz.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Problems.
Yeah, so I'm gonna rather than just kind of like hang out and try to like phase out, and everybody in the chat room, thank you guys for your patience today and for helping out and letting us know when things weren't working. So good. I'm gonna go basically strip everything down to its to the axles, grease everything, and rebuild it. So much love, and I will see you guys later on.
Yeah, talk to you on Wednesday.
Ta-da.
Bye, everybody. See you guys soon.
Right. Yeah. All right. Ending. There we go. And then I'm going to send everybody to Johnny's stream. I will hang on until he gets up and running. So just deal with my own issues. Now you don't hear anything? You can hear me, right? Hold on. Check, check. Hey. All right. Now I'll run the credits, and then we'll bring Johnny Million in there. You hear? Okay, good. Ugh. What a pain in the tuchus. And hopefully Johnny will be up quickly. Hold on, I gotta show. Hold on. Yeah, this reminds me of the old days. Yeah. Okay, he'll be up in just a second. Keep running this until he is. That raid in there. You blame the red shirt? I see. It's a Star Trek issue? Is that that's the whole thing? I was doomed upon landing? That was the issue? All right. Hold on, I'll do this. There we go. Oh, Lord. Let's see if he's up yet. Not yet. I'm waiting for Johnny to go live, and then I'll throw it to him. I see him. Think. There he is. Start soon. Yes. We'll start that raid. Thank you guys for your patience. I really appreciate it. I'm tired. Okay.